And welcome to another episode of Experts Speak. I am Michael DeLon. Today I'm talking with Mike Neal. Mike, thanks for spending some time with me today.
Thank you so much, Michael.
Well, you are welcome. It's going to be a great conversation. So Mike is wow, you're running multiple businesses right now. You've got one where you're an eye doctor, right?
Yep.
With your wife, I think, if I got all that right, or at least both of you do that. But what we're talking about today is not that necessarily, but it's how to find the most likely to succeed. And we're not talking about high school graduations. What we are talking about are teammates. And how do you actually find and build your teammate and hire people who are likely to succeed instead of likely to fail and get replaced? So let's dive into this conversation by asking, first of all, I mean, Mike, how in the world did you get doing what you're doing here?
Well, it wasn't, boy, let's roll out of bed and start a company to do this. I'll tell you that much. It came from necessity. You know, necessity is a mother of invention. We were hiring the wrong people at the practice over and over again.
Um,
We had incredible turnover. We had stress that it was bordering on immeasurable. It was awful. And so I started to look at how, like, there must be a better way. Why aren't all other businesses having these problems? Took a look at ways that Disney was hiring, the Four Seasons, a couple companies like that, and did a really deep dive into how they're doing it. Found out, rather to my shock, that they are not hiring the same way we were. They were doing it upside down. They weren't looking for people to fill the jobs or uh, to go that route. They instead looked at streamlining everybody out of their hiring funnel that could not do the jobs. And they did that using an assessment process.
hmm. Okay, upside down hiring. I like that, and the fact that we're hiring the wrong way because I don't know. I mean, I've been in business for over a decade. I don't know that I've ever taken a course on how to hire somebody. It's just
Who
innate,
has?
isn't it? So, I mean, the old-fashioned way, and probably the current way is, well, send me a resume. Let me look over what you've done, and let's talk about that because that's probably not what Disney does, and probably not what you would say. Is that fair?
The way these companies do it is using you send a resume in, they get your contact information off of it and such. But what we learned with the Build My Team approach is that you're really looking to determine what people's natural strengths and talents are. And especially with entry level, early management positions, things like that, the resume doesn't tell you in any way, shape, or form what the person's good at.
Yeah.
And so what all these really super successful processes do is they figure out what the person's actually good at. And
Mm.
Michael, you would be shocked at how many people, especially on entry level administrative clerical jobs, have no clue what their actual strengths and talents are.
Yeah. Honestly, that doesn't surprise me because when you ask that of anybody,
Mhm.
they just clam up.
Right.
And it's just like, well,
Yeah.
that's not helpful.
Well,
And
especially in an interview, you say, "What are you good at?" They're clamming up because they're trying to figure out what does this guy want to hear.
absolutely.
It has nothing to do with what they're actually good at. It's only what you're trying to figure out what they want to hear, right?
Right. Well, and I think too many times, and maybe this is a diversion, I don't know, the candidate is, oh, dare I say, they're seeking a job. They're not interviewing the company to say,
Right.
okay, so what are you good at? Well, this is what I'm good at.
Right.
And if you can use this, great. But if
Hmm.
not, I'm going somewhere else. Type. Do you find that? Is it always a is it usually a one-way street versus a two-way street?
For senior level positions, it's more along the lines of what you would think, with the interviewee interviewing the company owner as well.
Right.
For the junior level positions, I want a stable paycheck. I don't want to work out in the cold. I love air conditioning. I appreciate a computer that works. End of
And
story. If you even get that far, right?
right.
It starts
Right.
off with a stable paycheck and
Right.
working indoors with air conditioning, you know. So
Yeah.
that's the reality of that type of position.
Mhm.
And we see this all the time in healthcare because healthcare has such stable paychecks that people are applying. They don't care what type of practice they're working in. All they want are those prerequisites, like I said.
Yeah. So let's talk about an assessment. How does somebody find one of those, I guess, and then how do you actually use it? And I mean, I've taken a lot of assessments in my life, and most
Hmm.
of what I get back, I have that deer in the headlights look. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, great, thanks. Talk to us about some assessments. What have you created? How do you help?
Well, what we created is an end-to-end process. So our clients will simply go to our website, schedule a consultation call, and it's about 30 minutes where our team members are looking to find out who you're actually looking to hire. Most clients want to hire somebody to do 10 different things. Those days are over, Michael. You
Okay.
can't get that done anymore. So we're looking for somebody who to define a job description with a primary role, a secondary role, and then our team publishes the job to over 20 different job sites. And this is where it gets really exciting. We build a massive funnel. Imagine an absolutely massive funnel. We want as many applicants, like hundreds of applicants applying to this. And listeners are already getting the shakes because you're thinking, what am I going to do with all those resumes, right? No, it doesn't work like that. Our automated system will go through each of those people that that take our assessment process, and simply put, it determines if they meet the criteria with a thumbs up or a thumbs down. That's the level of automation that we have. And so all that's done with only the 30 minutes of discussion time. Our client doesn't have to put any work into that whatsoever. And it just sorts through these hundreds of candidates.
So you're taking the load, not just the time load, but the dare I say the emotional load from a business owner going,
Yeah.
okay, I've got to go find somebody. It's like, oh, you're you kind of removed that. If I
Well, it's
got
funny you
that,
say that. That was one of the unintentional things I noticed on the eye care practice side as the doctor and one of the two owners is we simply didn't have the stress level. It vanished um,
yeah,
because like for example, any business owner who has a small business wakes up in the morning on Monday morning looking at their phone and wondering, oh my goodness, who quit today? Who's not coming in today? Can Susie come in? No, she can't because her boyfriend's cousin's goldfish died, and it's just so overwhelming, Michael.
yeah,
Dealing with ridiculous stories like that, and I love to tell that because people on the other end are laughing like, "Oh, I got one better." When you have employees like that, you're just simply not you don't have the right people in the right role. So there's that old adage, getting the right people on the bus, and then you get them in the right seats on the bus. And that's what Build My Team does by finding these people based upon their strengths and talents and matching them incredibly tightly to the roles that you need.
yeah. All right, so let's back up because business owners tend to think, okay, I need one person, they're going to do six things, right? And
Right.
you and I both know that ain't happening.
Hmm.
So a business owner comes to you and says, "Here's what I need," and you and your team say, "Okay, that's three positions,
Right.
honestly." And then you go out and do three positions and build those massive funnels for each position, and come back to the business owner with a thumbs up on five people per position. Where does a business owner fit into this to go to start interviewing people, or have you? How does that work?
Usually it's one or two
Okay,
positions. And when the candidates are done with the assessment process, that's not the end of it. When they're done with going through these assessments and they get the thumbs up, then our team sends them a video interview. And what the video interview does is it has nothing to do with what they look like. We don't care if they're purple.
right,
It doesn't matter one bit. What matters is how they're going to represent your business. Are they going to in certain businesses, you want somebody who will represent you one way. In other businesses, you want somebody who will represent you a completely different way. And when you get that final match, that's where the person starts to fit the culture, the vibe of the business, you name it.
yep,
And when that happens, we send over the best one or two or sometimes three for the position. And at that point, the business owner can't lose. We know with 97% certainty that they're going to be able to do the job properly. These are A players, B plus players. These are not lower than that on the hiring food chain. And when you put a person into that position, what ends up happening is they just produce. They don't understand why it's special. They go to work, they get three times the amount of work done that everybody else used to. They learn incredibly quickly because, by the way, we measure that. And they're matched based upon categorical things like, does the position require high stress or not? Well, we're measuring their stress. We know if they're going to work out with regards to that. So
mhm,
you just have such an incredible advantage as a business owner by pursuing this type of approach instead of using resumes.
Yeah. Well, and you take the, I'll call it the gambling effect, right? You're not
Mhm.
casting lots for anybody anymore. You're getting high quality people who have been vetted. Because the other word you threw in there earlier was they match the culture of the
Yeah.
business, and I think business owners miss that when they look for
Who
people.
who could possibly get to that as a small business owner? Like sometimes you just need a heartbeat. In
Yeah,
fact, quick story: a retinal surgeon sent a text on a Sunday night. I need a heartbeat. He's one of our clients. We all had a kind of chuckled, shook our heads. We had a person um, for him Tuesday. She went in on Wednesday to meet everybody. Thursday was her first day. Is that a commonplace occurrence? Of course not, but it can happen that quickly. And so the only real thing we require from these business owners and our clients is to hustle when we send over candidates. You got 48 hours.
yeah,
That's it max. That's not our time limitation. It's what the market says. These A players, they're off to the next job if you are indecisive or take any extra time whatsoever. They want to work with an A player boss. They don't
right.
want to work with somebody who's indecisive, not really sure, dragging their feet, you name it.
Yeah. And it's those business owners that you just described who are in the hamster wheel of building my team. No, you're hiring somebody. They don't work out, oh, by the way. So now you have to let them go, and or they leave. And now you get to do it all over again versus
Right?
I assume you have a really low turnover rate because of it,
Extremely.
right? Talk about that
Yeah.
and the value of that to a business owner.
Oh my goodness. The so people in entry level positions, they're going to leave no matter what. That's it. That's an inevitability. Their spouse gets transferred. Somebody gets a better job, that type of thing. But we don't bring mercenaries to the table. These are not people who are leaving because of a quarter an hour more. And everybody's been through that. Um, when when you're on that hiring the hamster wheel as a business owner, having been there, done that, and got the t-shirt, it's so depressing. It is absolutely so depressing. And you can't keep great team members because they get depressed as well. We're just bringing on another person, a heartbeat, fill this position. I'm not going to put any time into them. They're going to leave. But with the Build My Team folks, it's not like that. These are folks that are coming from all walks of life. They're not brought in using experience. That's another differentiator. Experience with our approach is just as often a red flag as it is a good idea. They still have to be an outstanding person, an outstanding candidate. If they happen to come with some experience, depends what it is, because in a lot of small businesses, you just got to undo
Right.
that experience versus somebody who can come in, learn everything new, because remember, we're measuring how fast they learn. You don't have that extra layer of undo. And it's a completely different approach. I mean, I'm off on a bit of a tangent, but as a client to Build My Team, I can't imagine under any scenario going back to hiring based upon resumes because I am, like you said, you're gambling. You are taking shots in the dark. You are doubling down on a pair of deuces.
Yeah.
Poker.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, it's funny because it's funny. No, it's sad, but send me your resume. I mean, which resumes have you seen that come through and say, "Well, I really wasn't good here," and I no, it's always like glowing. It's like somebody says, "Well, do you have any referrals I can call about your business, Michael?" I've got dozens of them, and they're all going to tell you I'm amazing because I'm not
Yeah.
going to get. So let's just cut the and just get to the thing. Say, what's going on? What are you really concerned about, right? And I learned years ago from some book or something, I don't know, hire character, train for competence. And that's
Hmm.
kind of what you're saying at some level is it doesn't matter if they have the background, if they've worked in the industry for 32 years. Okay. Who are
If
you?
they've worked in the industry for 35 years, Michael, you are going to come to them. They're
Yes.
not coming to you. They're
Right.
not going to change 35 years of habits to come to you. I've seen that over and over again. So you have somebody who bends the will of the business to them, and
Yeah.
culturally that can be catastrophic.
Right. Well, and do you work with the business owner on the culture aspect? Because that's again, it's not taught anywhere in business. We read books and we go, well, I want to build a culture. But so many times it really comes out of the vision of that business owner, the entrepreneur, and in the DNA of who we are and what we do and why we do it our way. Do you
Right.
help them understand that, or do people come to you with that already in place?
Excuse me. Well, that's partially, and that's baked into our process, and it
Okay.
comes at you from a like a roundabout approach. I'll use the analogy of getting the right people on the bus. So most of our clients, when we start, they've got random people on their bus. Their bus is janky. It is barely running. It goes putt putt and occasionally doesn't start.
Yeah.
That's okay. Getting as far as addressing the culture, the best way to do that, and this is assertive, so everybody's got to be warned about this, is you take a look at your team. A players stay, B plus players stay, C players, sorry, Michael, they're not in the right role for themselves. They
Yeah.
might be great people, but they're not showing up every day and utilizing their talents and strengths. They have to exit your team. Anybody lower than that has to exit your team. And what ends up happening is you bring on, let's say replace a D player with an A or a B plus, you replace a C player with an A or a B plus. Guess what happens? It's immediate, that cultural shift, because those A players, they've been carrying the D
Yes.
players. They only want to work with A players. They will tolerate B players, and they're going to quit their job for C or below. And I know that sounds really, really assertive and ridiculous. That is how the market is currently structured. And if you don't want it to be like that, I can't help you. Nobody can, because that's simply how it is. So getting back to culture, you get those people on the bus. Guess what? Your role as a business owner you get promoted, if you will. You're not into cat herding anymore. You do not have to spoon feed anymore. You're not a kindergarten teacher. Okay. What you are now is the person who writes the map, draws the map, writes it all out. Here's where the bus needs to go. Okay. And then you're going to put guardrails on the road. You got to make sure nobody goes crazy and runs off the road. But then your job is to get out of the way and let those A players drive the bus. They will accomplish more than you ever could possibly imagine. And now you're starting on the next level of business, which is where you start to rely on your team members. And guess what, Michael? You can. You can now. That's the most amazing thing. You don't have to rely on people that you're spoon feeding out of one hand and hurting out of the other hand, because that can't happen. And so what it really does is gets you completely and utterly out of the mud onto pavement with a bus that can be driven.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that analogy. Um, and I don't know why, but when you said the bus and you described the bus, the Partridge Family came to my mind. I don't know why, but you remember their bus. um,
Well,
um,
yeah,
there's probably an analogy there you can use somewhere. Um,
exactly. Yeah.
the other benefit that I'm seeing here is when a business owner starts understanding this, because I mean, honestly, you and I both know business owners are trying to find virtual assistants. They're trying to find people on Upwork and Indeed,
Right.
and they don't know. They don't have a process in place. And it
Right.
sounds like you've created the process that you said is it's end to end. It takes a 30-minute conversation. You go out and you find it, you deliver a couple highly qualified people,
Hmm.
and then the business owner can hire them, get them in place,
Right.
and really start seeing immediate results in lots of ways. And where I'm going with all this is, then what happens if the business owner is astute is they start thinking about that next level
Yeah.
of and say, now I'm needing this kind of a person. Is that where
Mhm.
that's fine?
Yep, absolutely. Once our clients start to approach things this way, very few of them go back to the inertia momentum way of hiring using resumes,
Right.
simply because you have so much insight. And especially on the healthcare side of things with doctors and such, it's like all the information you can imagine is laid out in front of you regarding a patient. How do you go wrong? Versus somebody comes in and just says, "Yeah, my leg hurts, my arm hurts," things like that. And on the general small business side, one of the concerns we get is that this costs so much money. It most certainly doesn't. Most of it is automated. It is not based upon how much you're paying the person. And that's another advantage we have. As part of our process, they will throw the first number out, the applicant, as to
Okay.
what they're looking for. And so let's say they want 15 bucks an hour and you're willing to pay 17, 18 bucks an hour. You don't pay them 15, you pay them 16. Why do
Yeah.
you do that, Michael? Well, you're going to get a person who's blown away. It's within your budget. They're going to be sweating bullets for you on a regular basis. And you gave them that little bit extra to get them started, get them rolling. They will very quickly earn much more money with you, but you don't have to give. They're going to provide the value to your business where you're like, oh my goodness, this person just continues to improve and improve and improve. That's what this is capable of with this system.
Yeah. And when yeah, dare I say, most of my world is around business growth through marketing and
Yeah,
all, which is important. But if you if you do all the best marketing in the world and you have sloppy people
right.
or lazy people, good luck, you're wasting a ton of money. Don't
Yeah.
change your marketing, change your people, and that's what you help business owners do.
I learned this from Frank, our director of operations. He runs both. No, he's not a practice manager. He runs the business, and he also runs Build My Team. And what he showed me initially when he came on board was it's not about the gross revenue of your business. That's where so many people like to measure. Oh, my gross is, whatever it is. It's about your net. And
Yeah.
I couldn't agree with that more. Um, you're not talking Amazon or businesses like that. That's a completely different approach. But
Right.
for a small business, it's about how much you take home. That's really what the categorical change is. And um, by redoing our team at our optometry practice, our our gross income went up a little bit. Our net income was almost triple. And I've been called out on this that that's not possible. I had a secondary Zoom offline with a fellow and showed him tax returns. I wouldn't have agreed with it. I wouldn't have bought it either. I wouldn't have believed it because it's not possible. Oh, wait, it most certainly is. The team started to look for ways to save money, ways to bring in additional revenue, but most of it was on the expense side of things. We went from 14 people down to 10 and a half, and our gross revenue was up almost, well, it went up a little close to 50% with almost four less people. How? What were those other four people doing all day? Well, guess what, Michael? We still don't know, right?
That's right.
Yeah. So those C and D players were replaced. A and B plus players were brought on board, and all of a sudden, the business is running like a Swiss watch, so much
Right.
more efficiently. It
Yeah.
was shocking. It was embarrassing. I had egg on my face for a long time, and I loved eating it because
Yeah.
it was the wrong approach. A better approach was brought to the table. We adopted it, and my goodness, am I ever glad we did.
Yeah. And when you do that, the best thing is you can eat your eggs in France or Tahiti, or it doesn't really matter. No.
Get yourself a bottle of $50 ketchup if that's how you do it. I don't know, but
Yeah.
I'm a Heinz guy myself. But yeah,
I love it. But it takes so what you've created is a way to really remove a lot of the confusion, the stress, the dare I say the insecurity of hiring people. And
yeah,
maybe that's not the right word, but it's are they going to work? You're eliminating or mitigating that at a great extent, and doing
right,
it in 30 minutes, a 30-minute phone call, and then a conversation with the one or two people to plug them in to have a
right,
really high success rate to get your business really on solid ground.
yeah,
And it you want a business that grows. If you're not, I mean, I always look at everybody, Mike, as I say, my number one customer is my team, my
hmm,
writers, my designers, all of them, because if they are failing at if they're the
yeah,
bottleneck, I can't serve my clients.
hmm.
And so the better I treat my team, the better they're going to treat my clients, and everybody's happy, right? I don't know that a lot of business owners understand that. And they've bought into the myth that there really aren't any good people around anymore, by the way, Mike.
Oh, I
I,
love hearing that one.
yeah.
But the business owners aren't buying into it, not necessarily because they're bad people or otherwise. Like anybody listening to this knows just how depressing it is when somebody leaves and you bring on somebody who's just a big basket full of problems, but you don't know how to do any better. In psychology, it's called learned helplessness. No matter what happens, you no matter what happens, this proverbial rat in a box gets shocked every day. Pretty soon the rat doesn't move anymore. Well, you can't do that with a small business. You got loans, you got people depending on you, you got kids, you got all of these types of things, you just don't have an out. This is your out. It's incredibly predictable, reliable, and as I like to say, we do one thing over and over and over again. That's it. We're not hiring CEOs, we're not hiring doctors, we're not hiring anybody like that. We hire entry level and administrative team members, managers, that type of thing, and we do this all day long.
Awesome. Where should somebody go to find out more, to have one of those 30-minute calls, to get some more
Mhm.
information? Because I think you've got an answer that a lot of people are looking for. What's their next step?
Oh, it's really easy. Go to www.buildmyteam.com and take a look at the website, schedule a consultation call. This process works for, well, we haven't run into a small business we can't help yet. Started in healthcare, grew out of healthcare, and works really, really well on any small business in America.
All right, you've heard it, folks. Mike Neal's got this. The other thing I love about you, Mike, is you're not like some techie who created this technology that you're trying to sell. You came into this as a business owner and you had a problem. You found a solution to your
Yeah.
problem. You fixed it. You created it. So you are one of us, which I really appreciate.
Well, thank you very much, Michael.
Well, you're
Yeah,
welcome. Thanks for spending some time with me, for
that was
explaining a
fun.
little bit more about how to find um, A and B players, but really those who are most likely to succeed in your business and helping you take your business where you want it to go.
Right.
I think it's fascinating, and I encourage everybody. I'm going to put all this stuff in the show notes. Buildmyteam.com, and it's going to be a phenomenal journey for you. So, Mike, thanks again for taking some time to be with me today.
Thank you so much, Michael. Had a blast.